Welcome, though. Welcome to Science Friday's Down to Earth Mission Control Live. Hello, my name is Sandy, and I'm the Science Friday Education Program Manager. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am joining from Northwest New Jersey, so I want to know, where are you joining us from today? If you are signed into a YouTube account, you can join us in the chat to the right side or below this video and let us know where you're watching from today, because we'd love to know. That chat box is also where you can share your questions for our guests today. If you don't know us, we like to say Science Friday is your one-stop shop for all things science news. We're well known for our weekly science radio show, broadcast every week on, you guessed it, Fridays at 2 p.m. Eastern, right after this live stream, in fact. And you can listen to us live on your local radio station as a podcast or by going to sciencefriday.com and clicking on the listen banner on the top of the page. But of course, we're so much more. When you visit our page, you'll see articles, educational activities, and community experiences just like this one, and other fun things for those who love science. And I hope that you love science. Before we get started, a couple of really quick reminders. Science Friday is committed to providing a welcoming and harassment-free environment. And since we believe that providing clear expectations is a necessary part of building a respectful community, here are the basics. Please be supportive and respectful when speaking with one another or when asking questions in the chat. Share generously and listen closely. You can add your thoughts whenever you want in the chat, even if they aren't like strictly questions for our guests. Interact with one another. Please try to stay on topic. Today, we're here to discuss space, and specifically food and gardening in space, and also just following your dreams and exploring new careers and new possibilities. So let's try and stay related to that. We also reserve the right to remove anyone who engages in demeaning, discriminatory, or harassing behavior today. Great. Thanks for sticking with me. If you have any questions, you can feel free to ask. Today, all right, we are talking about the book Ladybug Launch, which is inspired by the true story of Chinitas in space. It's the real story of Chilean high school girls who convinced NASA to send ladybugs into space. And it tells the story of Natalia, an ambitious girl with dreams who wanted to become a scientist, and Luna, an adventurous ladybug that dreams of visiting the stars. Natalia's all-girl class designs an experiment. If astronauts want to live in outer space, they'll need to grow food. Could Chinitas, ladybugs, go along to keep pests away? The girls were eager to find out, and Luna was hungry to help. And if their theory was correct, it's a project worthy of NASA itself and the stuff all dreams are made of. And with that in mind, allow me to introduce you to our very, very special guests. Okay, so first we have Melissa Trempe. She has swum with the sharks and hiked a volcano, but her greatest adventure has been writing for children. She co-authored Ladybug Launch with Natalia Ojeda, and her next book is called An Astronaut Biography titled The Girl Who Dreamed of Space, which will be in bookstores next year. As a former educator, she loves connecting with readers at school visits and hopes to make the world a better place one book at a time. Welcome, Melissa. And next up, we have Natalia Ojeda. I'm working on it. I'll get it. She grew up in a simple home in the southernmost country of the world, Chile. Her family had few resources, yet her faith, determination, and experience in the Ladybug Project helped her overcome the odds and achieve her dream of becoming a doctor. She is now a doctor in the palliative care unit of San Juan de Dios Hospital in Santiago, Chile. As a mother of 4 girls, she wants to share her story of strength and hope with children around the world. Thank you so much for being here, Natalia. I also want to just quickly introduce Taylor Walden, who is our moderator and translator, our moderator today. Let's see, is it, one second. I am just going to see if I can get Taylor here so they can say hello. There we are. Hi, Taylor. And our interpreter today, Anna. And she will be helping us as we work through today. Anna is a English and Spanish interpreter. She's also a science commuter and digital video producer. Wow, thanks for being here, team. This is an amazing team. I'm going to figure out why we're in the wrong order, or maybe, oh, thank you. We got it. Okay. Guests, anything that you want to just kind of get us started with before we get into questions?
Yeah, I'll just share real quickly. So I'm an author, and talking about big dreams, which our book is all about, just so kids know, whatever your dream is, it's not always easy to reach. And I always knew I wanted to be an author, but I didn't know how hard it was to get a book published. And I learned that hundreds, if not thousands, of stories get submitted to publishers, and they may only work on 10 to 15 in a year. So Natalia and I learned firsthand that it takes a really long time and a lot of hard work to get a book deal. And as an author, I'm so glad I stuck with my dream, because it certainly was not easy to reach. But I do have 2 other books coming out, which is very exciting.
That's wonderful. All right, so go ahead, Natalia, go ahead.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation, and I'm really excited for the question of the kids. So,
and that's the perfect reminder, folks, that we want everyone to share your questions anytime during this event. You can put a question or a comment for our guests in the chat, and we will do our best to answer as many of them as possible. So let's get started, because I have some questions of my own. I couldn't resist. Natalia, reading the book, and I hope that some of you have had a chance to enjoy Ladybug Launch. But you talk about your teacher, Ms. Martinez, I believe, who encouraged all of you to send your experiment to NASA to pursue that dream. And I'm wondering what your first reaction was when Ms. Martinez told your class about the possibility of sending an experiment to space.
I remember that day. Ms. Martinez came to our classroom, and she said that the experiment really can be to the space, and I can believe it. I think we are just girls in a public school in Chile, the last country in the world, and we don't have anything, just a good idea. And I think maybe all this work worth it. So I was very surprised, and I think this brought me hope.
All right. Wow, I can't imagine like having my work brought to the forefront like that, especially at such a young age, because you were just 15, right?
I started to work in the Chinitas project when I was 13.
Wow. So at 13, you knew you wanted to be a scientist. Wow, that's amazing. So Melissa, let me ask you, what inspired you to write about Natalia's story as a children's book?
Yeah, so I learned that ladybugs had been taken to outer space with NASA. And as a children's book writer, I thought, wow, that is such a great story for kids. And I started working on it, and I wanted in the back of the book to have information about the real ladybugs that went to space and why. And as I was researching, I stumbled upon one article that mentioned these girls from Chile. And I was shocked that the scientists were these students, because NASA didn't mention that it was a group of girls. They would say the scientists, but they didn't have any information about them. So as soon as I learned that, I started doing research from Spanish articles and newspapers, and I saw this anniversary, 20-year anniversary, what happened to these girls who did this amazing work. And I saw Natalia's face and I read her interview and I was so blown away by her. And I found her on Facebook and I said, hello, I live in the United States. I learned about your story. It's unbelievable. Could I talk with you? And I just felt so lucky that she was willing to talk with me and we hit it off, and the rest is history. But I've always loved children's books, and I think it's so neat when we can find especially a true story and find a way to share it with children to inspire them in so many different ways. You can do anything, and there's just so many amazing stories in the world that are true, and I love finding them and sharing them with kids.
That brings me to, I think, a question many of us may be wondering: what was the hardest part of your experiment, Natalia? What was the most challenging part of getting this project launched in space?
I think we were very afraid about the NASA scientists because we think that they wanted to change the ladybug or the plants or the aphids, the species of ladybug. And because the idea, the principal idea was protect the plants in the space. But what plants, what aphids, what ladybugs? So we choose a species who live in both countries, United States and Chile.
Okay.
So this problem doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, okay. And John had a question. He knows that ladybugs are good for removing unwanted pests from gardens, but in the vacuum of space, is there actually a risk of pests for the ladybugs to keep away?
In that year, there was in a construction of the Space International station.
Right.
And the astronaut will be plants, but the space is must be protected for the chemicals, so they can't took this for any pest.
Okay.
And the aphids are little and really tiny, and we can see it, and it can travel in the seed. So
okay.
So if the aphids in the seed going to the space, the plagues will be horrible, and there is the ladybugs is the only control pest who is proof that it's work for this.
Wow. So I did not realize that the aphids could actually travel with the seeds themselves. And then I do know that the International Space Station gets fresh food like every 3 to 6 months. And I know that aphids can ride along and their eggs can ride along there. So I guess I never really thought of the fact that they are so careful about keeping things clean and decontaminated, but nature finds a way, right? And so I think, especially if they're trying to keep any kind of potential chemical contaminants down, sending along a biological, hero like ladybugs seems like a really smart way to accomplish that. We have some questions from Cindy. First off, she wants to know, what is your degree in, Natalia?
I am a medical doctor. I work in a hospital. I am the head of my team. We see palliative care, a patient with cancer, and in the last stage of this illness. So we take care the patient, and we give them treatment for the pain and nausea, for they have the best days for the rest of their lives.
That sounds like
So I'm a
that's
medical
tough.
doctor.
Yeah, that sounds like very difficult work. You must be a very caring person to do that work. And then Cindy also wants to know, have either of you gone to space? And if not, would you like to?
I meet 3 astronauts, and I really like to travel to the space, but I don't know if maybe one day.
What about you, Ladybug?
I have not been to space either. If I ever had the opportunity, I would definitely not say no. I would do it. And the question about Natalia and what you do, she's a medical doctor. I just wanted to point out in the story we had Natalia's dream to be a scientist, which is very related to being a doctor. But if we kept it totally true to life and had Natalia, the character in the story, want to be a doctor, she couldn't achieve her dream by the end of the book. And we wanted kids to be able to see her find that success by the end of her story. So by having her dream about being a scientist, she really was a a true scientist. So that's one of the things you can do in writing to, make a story work. So, at the end, it has that nice tie-in at the end. So, and you should definitely get the book out from your library, because the pictures in the back and the note from Natalia, it's just fascinating. It has so much great information about her.
It does. It does. And I think that's such an interesting point about the art of science communication, because that's basically what the two of you did, is that you took all of this wonderful science and a story and used it to really encourage learners to follow their own dreams, and creating that story arc, I think, is so important. One of the things that was the part I liked best from the book, Natalia, was the idea of you traveling all the way from Chile at 15 years old to the United States to present to NASA. And I'm assuming that's where you met some of your first astronauts. What was that like? Was that frightening? And if it was, how did you get through that very, very difficult, big experience?
I was 15 years old, and I don't speak any of English. No, nada, nada. And I was really afraid for the scientists, but they were very kind. They only wanted to help us for the successful for our experiment. And always, all the scientists want to help the children to do science. And when when the school in Chile invited me to speak for the Chinitas project, I say the same. The scientists always want more persons working it. And the travel, I was very afraid, but but was amazing. I learn and I meet amazing people, and it's a treasure in my heart always.
So that's a good reminder. Sometimes, even when something is hard or even when it's scary, it can be one of the best experiences of your life, right?
And I think, okay, there are doctors and scientists, famous scientists, and work in the NASA. But the Chinita project is mine. I know everything about Chinita project. It's my idea. So let's go.
I love that. I love that. And I do want to, Melissa, you brought this up. I want to make sure that we touch on the burning question. What about the Chinitas? Did they come back to Earth? Were they okay? Did the experiment work?
The experiment was an what was very successful, and the ladybugs eat every aphid in their box.
Yes.
And we have two boxes, two boxes. One is the control, only plants and aphids, and the other plants, aphids, and ladybugs. So we could compare.
Mm-hmm.
And the plants in the control boxes, they die.
Oh.
And the plants in the experimental boxes, they grow up green and healthy. And the ladybugs come back alive, and I think very happy for the good food.
Melissa, what gave you the inspiration to make Luna? And I know I'm going off script a little bit here, but what gave you the idea to make Luna one of our astronauts?
Well, when I first learned that ladybugs went to outer space, and I wanted to tell it as a children's book, the main character was, of course, a ladybug who wanted to travel to space. And then as I met Natalia and learned about her story, it just felt right to still keep a ladybug who wants to go to outer space, because it is a children's book. And, wouldn't that be fun to kind of have a ladybug as one of the characters in the story? So, I thought it was a fun way to keep it very kid friendly, so that kids could, have some fun with the story and see the ladybug becoming an astronaut.
And I do want to mention for folks, and I know that Taylor can put it in the chat, you do have activities related to the book. If people want to keep exploring these ideas and learn more about it, you can use that link to go and explore more. We are actually, believe it or not, almost out of the, glad to hear that ladybugs still have an appetite for aphids even when out there in space. Thank you, John. We're getting to the end of our time together, so I kind of want to get to the big picture questions. And I guess what I'm really curious about is, what advice would you give to students who have big ideas that might feel too big to actually accomplish? What would you suggest for them, Natalia?
Please, I sent Ladybug to the space. I was a girl. I live in Santiago in a public school. So if the children, the kids, have an idea about science, tell to their teacher, and work with them, and work for that idea, because I can do it and you meet me. So it's not a story or a person who don't look. I do it, so you can do it too.
Yeah. Melissa, I would love to ask you the same question. What advice would you give students that have a big idea?
I would say, whatever your dream is, whatever you want to do in life, know that right now you have all the tools you need to achieve that dream. And I think the most important thing to remember is just believe in yourself, because you can do it. You are so capable. And I think that's half the battle. When you believe in yourself, you go for it, and you really can do anything. So it might be hard. It might take a long time, but if you don't give up, I think you'll find success.
Well, we are almost at the end of our time. So I just want to start by saying thank you to both of you, Natalia and Melissa, being here. Thank you, Anna and Taylor, for your support. Thank you to all of the folks that tuned in today and shared questions and listened. I see that we had an entire classroom of fifth graders that were very much listening. John, I see, wanted to know, don't you wish that every young person had the opportunity to go to space and gaze upon our fragile planet from below? What do you think? Is that possible? Do you think that someday it won't just be ladybugs getting to go to space? Do you think we'll all get to go to space?
Field trip.
Before we end the day, let me give you each a little space just to share a little bit of your wisdom with our learners. What message would you like to leave them with? We'll start with Natalia and then Melissa.
Okay. My mom worked cleaning houses. My dad worked like a waiter. I don't have many resources. I have the love of my family, and I really want to enjoy the opportunities. My teacher and your teacher want to learn and to enjoy. And if you have an idea, it's not a crazy idea, it's a good idea. So work on it, and I promise it will worth it.
That's awesome. What about you, Melissa? What would you like to share with our learners?
I second that. Whatever your ideas are, they are important. People need to hear them. Share your wisdom with the world. It doesn't matter how small or young you are. You have important things to say, and you should never be you should never be afraid to speak your mind, chase your dreams, and live life to the fullest and go for your dreams. Dreams really can come true.
I think that's such a great message from both of you. And thank you so much for putting this story into the world. Thank you so much for taking time to be with us today. I feel really motivated and really inspired to go and make sure that I make my dreams come true as well. And I really appreciate you both. Friends, please remember to find out more about Down to Earth at our website at sciencefriday.com/down-to-earth. We've got other events coming up this month or in this upcoming week. So definitely join us for that. We'll be talking with Jen Swanson, who wrote the Atlas Obscura Explorer's Guide. And of course, tune in to Science Friday, which is starting in just a few minutes. We have some other amazing stories of women in science, just like Natalia, that you can listen to today, including Jane Goodall, who recently passed away. So thank you, everybody, for being here today. I sincerely appreciate it. If you have any further questions, send them in and I will make sure that Natalia and Melissa get them. Once again, I'm going to say thank you to our guests and have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon.